President Joe Biden has just delivered his farewell address, and blimey, it's a proper handful. Our 82-year-old soon-to-be former commander-in-chief is sounding the alarm bells about democracy faster than you can say oligarchy. Biden's warning that the wealthiest 0.1% now control more than 5 times the wealth of the bottom 50%. It's like a game of Monopoly where one player starts with Mayfair, Park Lane and all 4 stations. But hold your horses, there's more. Biden's not just worried about the uber-rich. He's also got his eye on what he's calling the tech-industrial complex. In his own words, Biden declared, "Today an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy." He's drawing parallels to Eisenhower's warning about the military-industrial complex, but instead of tanks and planes, we're talking tweets and likes. Apparently, Silicon Valley's attempt at world domination through memes and cat videos is a real threat to our freedoms. Who knew? Now, let's talk numbers, shall we? The wealthiest 0.1% of Americans control a whopping 27% of the nation's wealth. That's more than 140 times their fair share if wealth were evenly distributed. It's like they're playing the stock market with cheat codes, while the rest of us are still trying to figure out how to open a savings account. But here's the kicker, folks. Biden admits he might have spent too much time on policy and not enough on politics. "I almost spent too much time on policy, not enough on politics," he confessed. It's like revising for a maths test when the exam was actually in history. He's kicking himself for not shouting from the rooftops about his infrastructure projects. I guess he thought bridges would speak for themselves. Spoiler alert, they don't. As we gear up for Donald Trump's triumphant return to the Oval Office on January 20th, 2025, Biden's urging us all to stand guard and be the keeper of the flame. It's like he's handing us a torch and saying, "Here, don't let democracy burn out while I'm gone." And speaking of torches, Trump's inauguration is set to coincide with Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Talk about your historical ironies. But let's not forget the tech titans in all this. Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are cozying up to Trump faster than you can say retweet. They're throwing money at his inauguration like it's a Silicon Valley startup pitch. Musk has reportedly contributed over $250 million to Trump's re-election efforts. That's more than the GDP of some small countries. Meanwhile, Zuckerberg and other Silicon Valley bigwigs have each donated a cool $1 million to the inauguration. It's like they're trying to buy front row seats to the apocalypse. Biden's pushing for some last-minute constitutional amendments too. He wants to make sure no president is above the law and to slap 18-year term limits on Supreme Court justices. It's like he's trying to child-proof the White House before handing over the keys. But with his approval ratings hovering around 40%, it's a bit like trying to fix the Titanic with a roll of duct tape. Now, let's not forget about the Biden family drama. Hunter Biden's indictment on gun charges has been the elephant in the room throughout Joe's presidency. It's like trying to run a country while your son's starring in a real-life episode of Law and Order. Not exactly the family legacy old Joe was hoping for, I'd wager. As for those infrastructure projects Biden's kicking himself for not shouting about, let's take a gander, shall we? The bipartisan infrastructure law pumped $1.2 trillion into rebuilding roads, bridges and broadband. It's like he was playing SimCity with real money, but forgot to hit the advertise button. The transition of power has been about as smooth as a hedgehog's back. Biden and Trump have had about as many cordial meetings as cats and dogs at a pet show. It's like watching a really awkward changing of the guard, where neither party wants to hand over the keys. And what's next for old Joe? Word on the street is he's considering a career as a TikTok influencer. Because if you can't beat him, join him, right? Maybe he'll start a dance challenge called the Democracy Shuffle. Meanwhile, across the pond, our European allies are clutching their pearls at the thought of Trump. The sequel. It's like telling your mates the annoying bloke from the pub is coming back to the friend group. They're not chuffed, to say the least. As for Trump's new cabinet, it's shaping up to be a proper motley crew. He's tapped Pam Bondi for Attorney General and Scott Bessent for Treasury Secretary. It's like he's assembling the Avengers, if the Avengers were all CEOs and lawyers. So, my friends, as we wave cheerio to Grandpa Joe and prepare for the Trump Show, Season 2, remember to keep your eyes peeled, your wits about you, and your memes dank. And if you're not too busy scrolling through TikTok, why not hit that like button? It's the only vote that can't be recounted. In the spirit of Biden's warnings, let's take a moment to ponder the state of our democracy. Are we headed for an Orwellian future where big tech knows what we want before we do? Will billionaires start buying states instead of just senators? Only time will tell. As we look ahead to Trump's second term, one thing's for sure, it's going to be a wild ride. From border wars to Twitter wars, we're in for 4 years of, well, who knows what. But rest assured, newscats will be here to bring you all the juicy details, no matter how bizarre they may be. So buckle up, my friends. Democracy might be fragile, but our ability to find humour in the chaos is stronger than ever. As Biden said, I still believe in the idea for which this nation stands, and I still believe in the power of satire to keep us sane in these crazy times. Thanks for tuning in to Newscats. I'm Ron De Parmesan,